Those are my losers of the week. Join me now to cover it all and so much more is host of The Beau Show, Beau Davidson. Beau, I want to pick up, maybe let's go back a little bit. Let's start all the way at the beginning of my losers. I want to get your thoughts on Fani, whatever her name is. What are your thoughts on her being seen on the side of the road with Nathan Wade? You know, the two broke up long ago, so they said.
So they say, but I think you're 100% right. You just don't wind up on the side of the road with your ex unless you are kindling, as you said. There's no rekindling. The kindling seems always to have been there. So I completely agree with you, Tommy. I think anytime that someone is caught like this, as many people are, we find out what's really going on. We really get to the heart of the truth. So you're 100% right to call her out as a loser of the week, a loser of perhaps even the year, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I just think it's so brazen. And really, the whole thing was brazen, them going on the extravagant vacations together. Then, of course, the wild testimony where she talked about her love of, I think, Grey Goose and hiding money, you know, under the mattress or something to that effect. And then now you're going to be seen on the side of the road. I mean, you know, there's going to be video footage of it. So it just seems like they don't really care, kind of giving the middle finger to everybody that claimed conflict of interest, and they vehemently denied that. And then there they are on the side of the road.
Well, how many times do we have to see conflict of interest over and over again? But you can't really script a movie like this with a better name than Fani, can you not? Every time I hear her name, I laugh. And I don't know if it's Fani, it doesn't really matter. The point of it is that this is the makings of a Hollywood movie that the left just doesn't seem to want to make. So I'm I'm on the laughable side of this with you. I just think it's unfortunately too true, but also comedic at the same time.
I think she might be auditioning for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, to be honest with you. And I think that that would be a perfect place for her. I would watch. I certainly would. I want to go now and just jump, since we're kind of talking about reality and relationships. You know, a lot going on in the world, a lot of important things going on, of course, in the world. But for those that aren't paying attention to politics, they really are concerned with one thing and maybe one thing only, and that's Taylor Swift. So yesterday, I believe it was, we had this kind of PR expose that was put out. Travis Kelce's team calling it fake. Basically a document acknowledging the breakup of Taylor and Travis that's supposed to happen at the end of September, kind of a coordinated date. Now, Travis's camp said this is completely false, that this was made up. Someone put this out there. But I'm wondering your thoughts. Do you think that there's any way that this could possibly be a premonition of what's to come?
I think it's possible. And first of all, this is a love story. Baby, just say, oh no, could this be the end of Travis and Tay Tay? And honestly, Tommy, I'm a football fan. And just when I thought that I had purged the Taylor thing from my system, here we go again. So here's my thoughts. This may be crazy, but I think one, either it's an elaborate prank and a hell of a good one. Two, it is smart planning by Travis's PR agency. I don't think it's bad at all to plan ahead for what may be imminent, as has been the case from some of her past relationships. Or potentially, could it be the NFL baiting Swifties to come and watch the game tonight? So everybody knows that the Chiefs and the Ravens are playing to kick off the NFL tonight. And I'm just wondering, maybe that will be really the truth teller, is whether she's there tonight. Also, we've heard she's been drawing up plays for the Chiefs. And so I'm just waiting for, and it won't bother me that much if I see him under center audibling and saying, shake it off, shake it off. Then we'll know how much influence she's actually had on the Chiefs. But I think it's one of those three things.
Listen, I think that she made that comment, or someone made that comment about her drawing up plays. I think it was supposed to be in jest. I think it was meant to cause a reaction from football fans who are already annoyed with her being there. And if so, great troll by her to be like, hey, now I'm going to be drawing up the plays for the Chiefs. Yeah. I think that's funny if that indeed is what it was. But if it's not and it's serious, I mean, how narcissistic do you have to be a singer and an entertainer who probably doesn't know a thing about football, and then all of a sudden decide that you're going to draw up plays? I mean, I think this girl thinks she can do it all. Some people think that she can do it all. I am a Taylor Swift fan because I like her music, but we've been so saturated with Taylor Swift, it's almost rubbing me the wrong way now as somebody who actually doesn't care about football and cared about Taylor, and now I'm annoyed.
Well, I think the last time you and I talked, we were on the opposite side of this issue, but it's nice to see that you're kind of coming around, I guess, to maybe a more male perspective on this. I'm annoyed with it too. But in honesty, I mean, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they have a great thing going. They've got a great offense, obviously. And for the non-sports fans out there, you will do anything it takes to get an edge on your opponent. If I hear that as an audible tonight or a play call just because they worked it in, I'm not saying Taylor's drawing up the play, but if they use any titles of her song, that actually would be kind of funny. I wouldn't mind it, but you're right. It would hint of extreme narcissism if she thinks that she can do that. I think the real telltale sign, though, Tommy, again, will be tonight. Is she going to be there? And is this PR thing that's happening? Was that the NFL trying to bait Swifties, say, "Oh my God, we've got to watch the game tonight"? That's not a bad troll either if you're the NFL trying to bring more female fans into the fold.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people that would watch to see if she was there or not, but then I would, if I saw her there, then I would probably shut it off because I wouldn't care about the rest of it. But this is undoubtedly the most interesting team in all of sports right now, not just because of their winning record, but you've got Harrison Butker, okay? You've got
Yeah.
Travis and Taylor, and then you've got Brittany Mahomes, who was just thanked by Donald Trump yesterday in a Truth Social post for her support, or at least we think support, of Donald Trump through liking that Instagram post. So any way you splice this, who would have thought that Kansas City would be the most interesting place and interesting team in the entirety of sports right now, but they've done it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I actually watched the documentary that Peyton Manning produced about quarterbacks with Brittany and with Patrick. And it's interesting that you've got Brittany Mahomes supporting Donald Trump. You've got Harrison Butker, who seems to be certainly very conservative, and I stand by what Harrison said. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. And you've got Taylor Swift, who has been very active on the left. I'm waiting to see if she's going to come out with her ringing endorsement of Kamala Harris. Probably that's imminent. But then you have groups like Swifties for Trump. So, just because she claims to be for a particular candidate doesn't necessarily mean that all of her fans are going to vote that way. So I do think you're 100% right. Kansas City is the most interesting team in professional sports right now. And it does have implications, ironically, on the November election.
And I'd like to see some diversity of thought. Usually you've got the group think, and on that team with the various people involved and their significant others, you've got a variety of thought, and I like that. I wouldn't want an all conservative or an all liberal, group think, or for the more conservative minded folks to feel like they had to sit down and shut up. So this is really the only team where you can really be whatever you want to be, and I love that, even if I really don't care that much about football. But many other things to discuss in the realm of pop culture. You mentioned that we're waiting for a Taylor Swift endorsement, possibly of Kamala. I don't know if we're going to get that or not. I think she would be smart to say nothing and just continue doing what she's doing, maybe drawing up plays, who knows. But, there is also another interesting endorsement that I want to get your take on, and that seems to be her running mate, Tim Walz, his family not liking him so much. In fact, we've got a now viral photo of the Walzs family, and now they say that these might be distant relatives. We know his brother, his estranged brother, is for Donald Trump. But what do you make of this photo, and do you think that it says something for Tim Walz himself?
I do think it says something. Let's start with the picture first. The Associated Press, when I read the title to this picture, said, "Here's the deal with the photo about the Walzs. They're distant relatives," exactly as you said. They're trying to distance themselves from the idea that his family might be against him, especially politically. Maybe not personally, but certainly politically. And I think that's telling. Remember that when Mary Trump wrote her book, they were all over it. You're on The View. Any Trump relative that is against him, they will publicize, they will promote. But they want this story to go away. But honestly, Tommy, I think that the brother's statement, Jeff, saying, I believe it was on Facebook, Tim is not the kind of guy you want to make decisions. That's telling, because that's a character analysis. That's a character assessment. And if his own brother is saying that, what does that really say about who Tim Walz is? I'm not even really sure who Tim Walz is. He's had so many lies, so many fabrications, so many corrections. I'm sorry, a grammatical mistake that's completely different from an outright lie. And I think he did Kamala no favors by being her chaperone on the interview with Dana Bash. So I think that this is a situation where media should be reporting on it and talking to those family members. I don't care if they're distant or not, and asking them, what is it about Tim you don't like? And I guarantee you'll get a good policy conversation, which the media wants nothing to do with.
Yeah. Well, kind of in the same line of what we were talking about, they're going out of their way to brand him as Coach Walz and make him seem like he is the picture of masculinity and Midwestern small town values. It's really not doing it for me. I don't buy the camo hat. I don't buy that Tim Walz is the picture of what it means to be a Midwest dad, as somebody who has a Midwest dad. But do you think that people out there, there's a big gender gap between Trump and Kamala, men breaking decidedly for Trump, women more on the Kamala side. Do you think that Tim Walz is the guy, or Coach Walz is the guy to bring the men home to vote for Kamala?
I don't, because I think men are already skeptical, myself being one of them, of Kamala Chameleon, because we don't know what she stands for. We don't know what her values are. She's flip-flopped on so many issues. Tim Walz, I think, was supposed to be the anchor. He was supposed to be the adult in the room. And he's proven time and time again, the more we find out about him, the less I like. And I think men are going to see through that phoniness, which is exactly what you're talking about. I don't care if you're Coach Walz, camo hat wearing Walz. It doesn't matter. This is where, honestly, a J.D. Vance shows how superior of a VP pick that he is, in my opinion. I think the Walz thing is a bad move for them. I think the more that comes out about him, the less men will like. It just reeks of phoniness.
He just seems a little odd to me. I don't like the jumping around, doing the kicks and the claps it's just, well, he spent a lot of time in China, so the bowing makes sense. Honeymooned in China. Weird place to honeymoon, but hey, listen, to each their own. He is an oddball. Speaking of masculinity, pop culture just cannot help themselves, right? So James Bond, obviously a big figure in terms of masculinity, even if it's just pop culture masculinity. James Bond is an enduring character. Many generations of Americans and men look at James Bond as maybe a figure of masculinity, but they're going out of their way to just hope that possibly James Bond could be, maybe at one point, a homosexual. Let's take a listen to this clip.
Do you think there could be a gay James Bond?
Guys, let's be adult in the room for a second. There is no way around the fact that nobody would ever know James Bond desires, period. The important thing is that he does his missions properly.
Okay, I don't actually hate that answer. The important thing is that he does his missions properly, but he is a fictional character. So I think that if they do make a James Bond movie where the character is gay, I think it's going to be like all the other woke movies that fail. But why do they have to press this issue so often? Can they just leave anything alone?
They can't, because even you look at this cinematic fixture, this iconic series, James Bond 007, as you mentioned, it does represent a version of masculinity that the left is deathly afraid of and wants to tear down. It's part of the patriarchy. So if there's any institution left that we have anymore, this is one they want to tear down. So, but I don't think this is what Ian Fleming had in mind when he wrote these books. And if you look at the reaction of Daniel Craig in the clip that you just played, he rolled his eyes. Daniel Craig is playing a homosexual character right now in a movie. And I don't think he's signing up for dual gay movies at this particular point. One thing I really loved about the portrayal that Daniel Craig does of James Bond is the masculinity. He's debonair, he's dashing. Yes, he's a bit of a cad, there's no question about it. But maybe that's exactly what they're after, is wanting to tear down that notion of toxic masculinity, because they can't help themselves. They can't leave it alone. So I really loved Craig's portrayal, because it showed that he could be strong, but also, sincere and even genteel at sometimes. But I think you hit the nail on the head. If they decide to wokeify this institution, get ready for an amazing, tremendous flop. I don't think the fans are going to go for it.
Every time they try to do this, no matter what the series is, I don't recall the series because obviously I didn't watch it, but there was an interview with the cast and they said this is going to be like the gayest ever. And we're going to go out of our way to make it gay and really offend people that are homophobes and all this stuff. And it tanked. And I didn't even know what it's called because it tanked so badly that it didn't even hit my radar. But this is what they try to do. And listen, if something's gay or someone's gay, whatever, that's fine. But it's just this overt attempt to put it in everybody's face, and it reads as also just disingenuous to me, but that's neither here nor there. I also thought it was really interesting that we do have a Daniel Craig playing a gay character, because I thought when you are not something and you play it, that you are culturally appropriating it, and I thought there would be more of an outcry for that, but maybe not. Maybe they just like seeing him portray a gay character. I don't know. I mean, people liked Brokeback Mountain, so I'll just leave that where it is. I want to shift now to another phenomenon as school starts up. Some high school folks are dealing with some different bans that are coming down, and I want to get your thought on what you think about some of these. First up is the cell phones. Now, this I'm completely behind. I don't know why kids would ever have cell phones in class. I don't know at what point it became acceptable to have a cell phone in class. It's not been that long since I have been in high school, and I for sure had a cell phone, but I went out of my way to hide it. I would hide it in my shoe. I would hide it in my backpack. I would pretend it was a calculator. I had to get creative with it. Now they can just use their phones. What do you think of the ban, and do you think it'll be helpful?
I'm completely in support of it. You know, my mom, Tommy, was a public school teacher for about 38 years. I can imagine her trying to commandeer a classroom full of distracted cell phone teenagers. That just wouldn't fly. So I'm in support of it. And I'll say this from personal experience. I mean, like when you use a cell phone, I'm a one-track mind kind of guy. I can't focus on anything else. If I'm in a text message, if I'm on a phone call, there's no way. So if you're thinking about trying to listen to your teacher, learn a lesson, do a paper, even think properly, it's going to create a tremendous distraction. And as we know, cell phones themselves, all the apps you have in there, take dating apps, take any other game you want to put on there, it's a tremendous distraction. So I'm with you, especially having a public school teacher, mom, that this is a tremendous distraction. I support a ban on it. I don't think it should be in the classroom at all.
I'm all for those yonder pouches. Hey, listen, you can have it in your other time, you know, when you're walking around, whatever, when you're not in class, but just put it in the pouch and then you can actually focus. It might actually do something to make these literacy rates improve, because we know that they're in the toilet right now thanks to remote learning and the like for COVID, which really was low risk to that age group anyway. But there's some other bans that I want to get your thoughts on. Now, these are not maybe widespread, but there is an Alabama high school that's got an interesting list of bans. Open-toed slides, the sandals, hooded sweatshirts, crocs. What do you think? Do you think that there's justification for banning these items? Maybe they're just fashion violations, but this high school is saying that they're a problem.
Well, number one, I would never wear slides or Crocs, but that's just me. But, you know, when I went to prep school, Tommy, in Memphis, and we had to wear like collared shirts, khaki pants. But I will say this, when you do have a dress code, it does establish a sense of professionalism. I think it prepares you for the professional world. So I'm all for a dress code. However, the artistic side of me says I believe in artistic expression. I had no sense of style when I was in elementary school and high school, zero. And then I went to Chicago, went to Northwestern. I learned about Kenneth Cole and different, like, you know, friends of mine had to take me to dress basically. And I would wear the all black thing. I think that's perfectly fine. I was an actor. I was like, that was kind of a hip look. You know what I mean? So I don't know why you ban all black. They're saying it's because what? Because it's a depressive look. Yeah. I believe you should be able to maintain your stylistic expression while also, you know, if you want to look weird, look weird. I think weird is good, actually. I think Jordan Peterson would agree that young men and women have to be able to express themselves appropriately. But the Crocs and the slides, I would just never do.
I mean, slides are obviously a very popular thing. You know, when I was in college, athletes would always wear socks and slides. I think that's still a hip look now. Crocs, they sure went through an evolution. I'll tell you, Beau. Crocs went from being what old women wore and hairstylists in the Midwest, and then they were completely out, and all the Croc stores were closing, and people were like, no, we're not doing Crocs anymore. And then they made a resurgence with young people who now buy the little jewels and put them all over their Crocs, which I think is really doesn't look good. But listen, fashion evolves. What is old is new again. You brought up the all black clothing. That's actually at an El Paso middle school that banned the all black clothing because it promotes, I guess, depression, oppression. Yeah. I'm not sure. As somebody who primarily wears black, I agree with you. I think there's nothing wrong with wearing all black clothing. I don't think it's going to impact anybody's mood one way or another. But there is an interesting thing, too, that I read about some schools removing the mirrors from the bathroom, okay? Someone removed my mirror from the bathroom, there would be hell to pay, Beau, if they removed that mirror. Now, again, this is for self-image reasons and this, that, and the other. I mean, I don't think you can coddle these kids that much. What are your thoughts?
That's too much. I agree with you. You know, look, removing a mirror, let's be honest, that's absurd. That's where some of these things take it too far. The slides, you know, the all black because of what it may represent. They're going to be in a pickle, actually, though, because if you are wearing something that represents a movement or a personal cause, how are they going to deal with that? We've seen some of that in the professional sports world. But removing a mirror just because of self-image problems, I think is hysterically bad. I think that we do have to support young people in terms of their self-image. There's obviously a tremendous self-image problem in young men and young women, but you know what? That is the job of the parent. They should be promoting that. They need a two-parent home hopefully, or male and female influence, to be able to teach these kids what self-confidence actually is. And that's why I say, from my personal experience having a dress code, I think it made me a better dresser. It made me think more about how professionally I wanted to present myself. So I think those are good things, but some of this other stuff seems to be a bit garbage to me.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know what the young kids are wearing now. I think they either dress like they're homeless or they dress like they're going to a strip club. And I'm not sure what their sense of style is, but I think that a level of professionalism is important, but let's not take it too far. Last thing I do want to ask you is kind of going back to our political discussion on the debate next week, because I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. I think there's a lot of folks that think that Donald Trump is going to perform well. He's going to wipe the floor with Kamala. I would urge people not to get too confident and too cocky, because I think that you're always better being the underdog, and they're really making Kamala into the underdog in this situation. What do you think that Donald Trump needs to do to win this thing?
Well, Corey Lewandowski says, let Trump be Trump. There is some merit to that. However, I think you have to be careful. What he was able to do to Hillary Clinton, he pretty much decimated her in that debate. Depending on how the mic situation goes, I think it's going to be very easy to bait Donald Trump into interrupting her. And we all know that Kamala Harris wants so badly to say, excuse me, I'm speaking. Let me finish. I'm speaking, which is a power move for a female. A lot of females will see that as standing up to a man, standing up to a bully. He's got to be careful about not doing that too much. On policy, he will mop the freaking floor with her. And I think that's what he's got to call out. If he can just focus on the issues, which are the economy, crime, the border, diplomacy overseas, energy, he will be fine. But he's got to be careful, because she's not a bright person at all. And I think it's smart of Trump to be debating right now, debate prepping with Tulsi Gabbard, who also mopped the floor with Kamala Harris. I think that's very bright to do. So I think as long as he stays in his lane, kind of like he did to some degree with Joe Biden, he'll be okay and he'll come out the winner. But they're going to be media declaring Kamala Harris the winner before it's even happened.
Yeah. Well, I would also say this, speaking of Hillary Clinton, I know folks think, oh, this could be the same thing. Let Trump be Trump, because, he was so aggressive with Hillary and so funny with Hillary. And he really rattled her with just kind of being an a-hole, to be honest. And we loved it. But that was also in 2016, when we were not that familiar with Donald Trump. And so it was funny then. But I remind people that Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris are very different. I don't find Kamala likable, but nobody found Hillary likable. So when Trump embarrassed her or rattled her, I think even people that maybe would vote for Hillary Clinton, they kind of liked it, because Hillary is just so unlikable. Kamala, though, she does have a fan base. And if Trump does act like a jerk towards her, that's just going to play right into her hand. I think he needs to be very restrained. And I think that, in fact, he needs to let her talk as much as possible. In fact, if I were him, I would say, you know what? As a gentleman, I'm going to cede some of my time to Kamala, because I want to hear more about her economic policy. And then I would just sit and say, like, she can have my 20 seconds. That would be hilarious.
And I would call her out on every single policy decision she's made, particularly regarding the border, particularly regarding the economy. She's saying we've got a new path forward. What the hell is it? You haven't said. So I would say, Kamala, please tell us what this path forward is, because the past 3.5 years, you've led us into hell. So tell me what you're going to do differently. Ceding some of that time could be a very strategic move, but I think you're right. If he goes out of his lane too much and oversteps and tries to be an a-hole or a jerk to her, I don't think it will look good. I think he can do it strategically and hit her with some uppercuts when he needs to. But the policy thing alone, he should be able to just run away with.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to wait and see. I think it's going to be highly anticipated, highly viewed, and I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be a great time. I hope that he can stay just a little bit restrained. But if there's anybody that cannot be restrained, it might be Donald Trump. So
well, I'm waiting
way.
for some of the accents too. Please, God, give us some more accents, Kamala. You better thank a union member. We better have Foghorn Leghorn. We better have the South Dakota accent, Tommy. We better have everything.
I can't wait to hear it. She's preparing now as we speak, I believe. So it'll be very interesting to see. And I also can't wait for the Tim Walz, JD Vance debate. That's also going to be very interesting. Oh, Beau, it's always great to have you on the show. I appreciate it. And you have a fantastic weekend, and we'll have you back soon.
You as well. Always a pleasure, Tommy.
Folks, that does it for this Thursday episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I will catch you right back here at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for my one-on-one interview with Florida Georgia Line's Brian Kelly. You don't want to miss that. Also, catch full episodes of this show on Fox Nation whenever you want. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. from Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I will be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.